Okay. We're going to spend the next 45, 50, 55 minutes together. I would like for this to be an experiential exercise for you. Most of what I am talking, or at least some of what I'm talking, is something you probably heard before, something that some of you might be practicing, okay? But what I'm talking is something that is not just theoretical for me, something that is my experience on a day-to-day basis, my experience in my work, my experience with my patients. So it is just that I'm sharing my experience with you, and hopefully together, okay, I'm going to leave my cell phone there because Siri says that it can't understand what I'm saying. Thank you. So this is my experience, and I find this to be much more relevant in the past 2 years in the context of the pandemic and the upheaval in our lives that we all experience and the lives of the patients that we serve on a day-to-day basis. So let's start with the objectives are there so that I have to write something, but this, as I said, at the end of this exercise, if you are able to understand your mind a little bit better, if you're able to actually take something out of this that you can actually put into practice for yourself, and if it is improving either the quality of what you do and the quality of your life, that's all the purpose of this talk. Okay, so those are the objectives, but this is the actual purpose. Okay, so I just want to share with you a very joyful moment in my experience as a psychiatrist, and I practice addiction psychiatry in addition to general psychiatry. So this was a visit with a 34-year-old female patient. She's on buprenorphine for opiate addiction, and I had to do a televisit due to a pandemic. And as we were talking, I heard a loud cooing sound of a baby, and then the patient lifted the baby from the crib, which was next to the seat where she was, and showed the adorable baby, and the baby smiled at me. Okay? Yes, that's exactly how I felt. My heart left with joy. Okay? Now, the memories of the past entire year kind of came flooding into me. Okay? What was the memory? This was an individual who was in our MAT clinic getting buprenorphine on a regular basis, and then she went from being single to being in a relationship, and in that relationship, she became pregnant. When she became pregnant, we talked to her about there are specialized clinics for people who are pregnant and on buprenorphine, and we asked if she wanted to go to one of them. She said, no, I want to keep my OBGYN, I want to keep your team and you as a psychiatrist, and continue. If there is anything, I want you both to talk about it and deal with that. So she went through the entire pregnancy, delivered a healthy baby, absolutely no withdrawal symptoms for the baby. Baby was supposed to be in the NICU, but within a day, they put her with the mother, and the baby is doing wonderfully. And what I saw was actually the picture of that baby and the baby live. And this moment was one thing which said, this is why I am in this business. This is why we are here, okay, to make a difference in the lives of individuals. Now, these kinds of moments don't come very often. However, okay, there are a lot of other moments that we come across in our practice in terms of when we connect with patients, when we are able to explain something to the patients and that it is an aha moment for them and they say, oh, I understand. These are moments of connection. These are moments of joy that we tend to forget in the hustle and bustle of the practice that we have. Okay? So part of what my emphasis is, we need to be able to pay attention to these moments. We need to be able to talk to the team about these moments and kind of bring these to the forefront so that they are going to be a perfect burnout, a perfect antidote for the burnout that most people are experiencing nowadays. Okay. So, that said, I would like you to engage with me in just a reflective exercise. Okay. Can you just take about 20-30 seconds? Think about the last 1 week of your regular practice, okay? And just reflect on the last 1 week and think of an episode or situations where you experienced joy. It could be what you did with a patient, a decision that you made, a reaction from someone in terms of what you did for them, or anything else that just gave you satisfaction and joy. Okay? We'll just do it for 30 seconds. I just want you to write it down if you can, and can one person or two people just share what they have. So I'll be quiet for 30 seconds so that we can do this. Does anyone want to just share what they experienced or wrote down or what they want? Anyone? Do I assume that no one had a joyful moment in their? You right? So you are happy to be here, okay? That's, yeah. Anyone else? Yes, please. Would you mind going to the microphone and just?
Hi. I own a geriatric house call practice in Philadelphia, so my world is a lot of death and dying. But I spoke to a new patient on the way down here this morning, and she doesn't know me, I don't know her, but I called her, I said, hey, is this a good time to talk, to see if we're a good fit? And she's adorable little old woman, and she said, I'm sorry, but I'm in the toilet, or on the in the bathroom. And I laughed, and I said, okay, I said, that's very common, why don't I call you back? And I said, will you be around later? And she said, honey, I've been around for a long time. Yeah, I'm going to be around later. So it's just as my practice is, like I said, a lot of death and dying and comforting. But the laughter that I get with my older patients is just a constant joy, and it happens on a daily basis.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. These Yes, these exactly are the kind of moments we are talking about. And I think we need to kind of look for them. We need to kind of facilitate those kinds of moments. But what can we do individually? What is the state of mind with which we approach work that can bring on these kinds of moments organically, spontaneously? Okay, that's what we're going to talk. Okay. Okay, so if we break down life, life is nothing but two things. One, the experience that we are having on a moment-to-moment basis. So as we are sitting here, I'm talking, you are listening. This is an experience. Okay. Then there is the other part, which is a part where we have this concept of what life is, which is the mind, which is saying, my life is, I am going to be, I was. That's the big part of it. But actually, all that is only for one thing, just our experience in the moment. If your experience is good from moment to moment, that's life. That is life, right? But usually, we tend to be up here in the conceptual part, ignoring the experience that we have on a moment-to-moment basis. And even if we look at the experience, it is very simple. Experience is either pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. And if it is more unpleasant, we call it suffering. Okay? And so the more we go to the basics of life, the more simple it becomes. Okay? And the next slide actually visually tells what are the different components of our experience. As we are talking right now, hey, I'm going to, as I'm talking, I'm saying my experience as I'm talking is a neutral experience or a pleasant experience. Okay? What is this experience? What are the different components of this experience? Okay? The thoughts that are going through our minds right now. So I want you to actually, as I'm talking, I would want you to just look at your own experience. For yourself, say, hey, my experience is pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. And what are the components? The components which make your experience or my experience are the thoughts. Okay? Hey, this is an okay presentation, then it's a neutral. Hey, this is a wonderful presentation, then it will be positive. This is a lousy presentation, it's a negative. Okay? The feelings that go along with the thoughts. Okay? The physical sensations. Hey, I missed my breakfast this morning, so I'm hungry. So that adds to the experience. Okay? The memories, whether if it is a positive memory, it adds. It's a negative, it adds. Then the urges and impulses. In every moment, all these 5 components are working together. We don't pay attention to them, but they're working. Okay? And this is important for us to understand the basic components of every experience, because at the end of the day, stress comes from one of these parts. It starts from one of these parts. And that is what we kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So this is something to have in mind and see how your experience jives in with what I'm talking here. So we talked about the basic experience, but we also talked about the concept of life, which is the mind. And when we understand the mind, we have to understand that the mind can be understood based upon the attention that we are paying to a particular thing. So, and there are 2 types of attention. One is called the focused attention, where you are actually, I am focusing on you, you're focusing on the talk, that is the focused attention. Then there is the awareness. As I am talking to you, I am aware of the surroundings, I am aware of what's going on outside. That's one part of the awareness. Then the other part is internal awareness. Am I aware of my own thoughts? Am I aware of my feelings? Am I aware of my sensations, my energy, impulses? Usually, when we are focused externally, our awareness is decreased. Okay? If we are able to focus, but also expand our awareness from external to internal, what tends to happen is that the mind tends to become more present and in the moment. So as I'm more aware of this, then you can see that the more I'm aware internally, the more slow down in terms of my thoughts, my speech. This is what happens. So this is the exact opposite of what happens when we are stressed out. In fact, the next slide shows the different modes of mind. Our mind is in one of three modes, and I want you to see if this jives with your experience. Okay? The doing mode, the deadline mode, and the vacation or the beach or the meditative mode. Okay? So doing mode, think of a routine day for any physician nowadays. What is the routine day? My routine day starts at 7:30. I'm out of the house in my car, reach there between 8:45 and 9, depending on the traffic. Then I have patients back to back. I have a little bit of time for lunch. Then I have a meeting. I have patients in the afternoon. Oh, by the way, I need to go start at 4:30 so that I can reach home at 5:30, things to do at home. But will I be completing my notes on time before I do, or do I have this pending? So that's a routine day, right? So we are constantly going one task to the next to the next. Okay. Now, that is the doing mode of mind. The deadline mode of mind is that, hey, I have to do all this, but then I have to prepare for my talk Friday morning in Hard Rock Cafe. Okay, I have to do it during the day, or I cannot do it at night because I have to help my son with something. So that's a deadline you have there in addition to the routine. So you can see how the state of mind is when you go into. Then we have the vacation or meditative mode of mind. Okay, so you might be wondering, hey, where does this vacation or meditative mode of mind comes from? So when we just heard the example that you are talking to the patient and both of you are sharing a laugh, okay, then that state of mind where is the vacation mode of mind, meditative state of mind, or you have a half an hour break for lunch and you are sitting with your colleagues just talking about how things are. That is a vacation state of mind, okay? Or where you are able to take time between one appointment to the next and are more aware internally, are able to actually focus internally for even 1 or 2 minutes. That's a vacation state of mind. Okay? For me, I'm a psychiatrist. I treat patients, and a lot of my patients come with anxiety. And one of the things I do is teaching them mindfulness techniques using breathing as an anchor for mindfulness. When we are doing mindfulness together for a couple of minutes, that is a vacation state of mind. Okay, so what happens in a vacation state of mind is where you're aware of what's going on internally, but you are not reacting to what is going on internally. You are aware of what's going on externally, and you are able to respond to situations without judging the situations and without reacting to the situations. So there is a difference between response and reaction, and in a vacation state of mind, you are responding to situation as opposed to reacting to situation. Okay. So this is an example of typically which state of mind we are in. Okay? So this is the vacation state of mind. Okay? This is the deadline. This is the doing mode. So I have about 3% as vacation state of mind. Is there anyone in here who has vacation state of mind in a work day more than 10% of the time. Please, can I have your card? I'm going to call you. I have to learn from you. Do you want to just say a minute or two how you do that? That would be wonderful. Yeah.
I have two businesses. One is primary care. I'm a family doctor. And I just started a new company about a year ago involved in remote patient monitoring. I work 3 days a week, and the new company is more of a hobby than a job. And I have plenty of time. I play golf several days a week. I do ballroom dancing. I do investing. And I still have plenty of time to do other things. So it's not about working, it's about focusing on what you enjoy and what you want to do and making time for it. That's how I do it. I make time for it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. But now, how many of us can really say that, hey, I can do exactly the way you are doing? Now, because how much of control do we have on our jobs? I don't have too much control. Anyone has more control and say, hey, I can do this? No. Okay. What we have more control over is what state of mind we are taking to the job. So the job is one thing, what state of mind we are taking to the job. Okay. But the whole idea is that the whole idea is we want to get to that state where we are spending more and more time actually enjoying what we do. Okay. Now, I was just giving this talk to my residents a few weeks ago. I just asked them, hey, did any of you choose to be in this profession because of someone else, or did you want to be here? Everyone said, we chose this profession. We chose the job. We are where we are because of our choices, right? Then why should we not enjoy? What is there not to enjoy? That's the question. So there are some barriers to enjoyment, and how do we address those? Okay, using our internal resources. Okay, so the bottom line is that there is a calm and peaceful place within each one of us. Okay, that particular peaceful place is something we can take our mind to consciously using certain techniques. Okay, and the way we do that is we train our attention. Normally, right now, our attention is going to wherever it wants to go to, even though we have other important things to do. By training our attention, in other words, training the mind. What is training the mind? Understanding the mind and understanding how we can pay attention to the thing we want to pay attention to at any particular time. Okay, and it all starts with taking a look at ourselves. So essentially, it is taking a look internally. Okay. All this comes from the Buddhist philosophy, and you all know the story, or most of you must know the story of Buddha, who being a king, he left his kingdom, went out into the forest because he wanted to find out the way you can overcome suffering. And what he came up with is an eightfold path towards that, which starts with first lifestyle changes, appropriate posture, breath control, and through that controlling your attention, awareness, and eventually you reach to a stage where you are supposed to be in perpetual happiness no matter what happens around you. Yeah. Yeah. So in this thing, what we talk about, the perspective and philosophy is 30%. The technique that is done is 20%, but the most important part is the practice part of it. Okay? This particular slide is more of a caveat to say that what we are talking about in terms of understanding the mind, mindfulness, works on certain aspects of the problem, but there are other aspects of the problem that need to be addressed differently. So if we are looking at our stress, the stress could be because of the systems we are part of. It could be how we view and frame things, or it could be our own experience and what we are, how we are experiencing it on a day-to-day basis. And here, the systems we are part of, we have the least amount of control because the systems are kind of entrenched. You can only make very little change. So do the best to change the system. Acceptance or go to a different system is the best way to do it. How we view and frame things, we have some control over how our approach to things is. And here, we reframing how we look at things and changing how we frame things is the way to deal with this part of the stress. And finally, this is where we have the most control, the experience we have from a moment to moment. And here, we have the most control. This is where mindfulness comes into play. Okay. So that's the philosophy, from the philosophy to the technique. Okay? So what we are going to do now is actually an experiential exercise where I'm going to give directions in terms of what we are going to do. And I want everyone to practice. I want everyone to do this. And then we will, for a couple of minutes, we'll talk. Okay? So I can't do this standing. So I'm going to pull this chair here. So essentially, in mindfulness practice, what we do is that we try to align our body, mind, and use our posture together. Okay? I want everyone to be sitting in a very comfortable posture where you are keeping your head, neck, and back in a straight line. Okay? The next part is that you just remind yourself that you are going to be in the here and now. The mind has a tendency to wander off either into the past or into the future and stay away from what is going on here. So just a reminder that you are going to be here and now. Okay? Once you do that, then you draw your attention, okay, internally to your breath, okay? And in here, you're going to look at where your next breath starts, starting point of your breath, and only you would know where it is. Then you would just observe your breath. You don't do anything. Just observe as you're breathing in naturally, and as you're breathing in, you will feel the sensation of the breath going through your body. Wherever you feel the sensation the most, keep the focus there. Once you breathe in, then automatically you breathe out. You continue to observe that and observe the end point of where the breath ends. Okay? So once you do that, okay, this exactly shows what we're talking about. So starting point, just observe your breathing go up, automatically it goes down, okay? And then see where the end point is. Once there is the end point, just before the next breath, just pause. Just pause for 2 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. During this pause, you're just observing what is going on in your mind, okay? And then go back to the breath. So basically what we are doing is that we are doing the focusing part of your mindful practice here, awareness part here. So in every breath, you are training both the focusing and the awareness. And this awareness helps us to look at mental experiences without reacting to them. Okay? So this part, I want everyone to be clear. Is there any question about this part? If not, what we'll do is that we will time for 2 minutes. We'll actually do this, and then we'll talk. Any questions about any aspect of this? No? OK. So what we're going to do is that, when we do this, you want to keep the focus on that. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to do this for two minutes. I would want everyone to do this for 2 minutes. Okay? Everyone okay? So starting now. So I'm going to say loudly so that we are going through the steps. Sitting in a comfortable posture, head, neck, and back in straight line, eyes closed. Then reminding the mind to be here and now, turning the attention to my breath, to the next breath, looking at where the starting point is. Then observing as the breath, including the sensation where it is the most. Observing my breath, out breath, the end point, the pause, and then the next breath. I'll be silent for the next 2 minutes. Okay, we can slowly open our eyes. The most important thing in any kind of mindfulness is listening to your body and your experience. So you have numerous apps which are available out there. Okay. One problem I have with any kind of app is if you're dependent on an external app, you can only use it when the app is available. There is one natural app which nature has provided us. That is our breath. Even if we want to stop it, we can't unless it is time, right? And if we are able to anchor our attention to the breath, and if you're able to practice this technique, you can use it anywhere, whether in a difficult situation, whether you're in a meeting that you are getting bored, whether you're any situation where there is stress, you can automatically take yourself there, away from the stressful situation, and create this. So the next part is actually understanding or deconstructing the stress pathway for you. We all have done this exercise of mindful breathing. Now, this can be helpful for you when you are stressed out, and but when do you recognize stress? Do you recognize stress when it has already built up? Usually that's what we do. When the stress is already built up and then, oh, I feel stressed out. Are you able to identify the very first sign of stress in your body? Okay? This is what we are going to do. Okay? Right now, I'm thinking following what we did for two minutes. Your mind is in a steady and kind of a comfortable state. Just think about the last time you had a significant stressful thing, and let it come to your mind. Let it come to your mind, and then look at these 5 factors and see where does stress start for you. Does it start? So this, we want to do it as an exercise. So let's spend next 15 seconds just thinking about the last stressful situation and then recognize what is happening with it. So starting now, I'll be just looking for 15 seconds, okay? Okay. Where did stress start for you? When you thought of something stressful, where did it start for you? And this is just for your reflection and all. So if I have to say, for me, it starts with thoughts going faster in my mind. That's where it starts for me. I have people saying the first thing I feel is a knot in my stomach, a knot in my neck. There are some people who say that I feel a tension in certain part of the body, or there might be some feeling of anxiety or something. So identifying the first sign of stress is very important, because you want to identify that and then stop it right there before it builds up. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to talk for the next few minutes to just complete this, and then I'll be open for questions. Okay. One of the things with this, with either any of the mindfulness techniques, is that there are some good ones which are available and very helpful. However, actually putting them into practice on a regular basis is very, very difficult. So having a regular practice first thing in the morning before you go to bed, and sometimes when people are very busy, particularly for my patients, I say, if you're not able to do anywhere, even in bed, do it in bed before you go to bed. At least that way you're going to have a good night's sleep. Okay. So recommendation is 5 to 10 minutes first thing in the morning before going to bed. And whenever there is anything stressful, all you have to do is do about 3 or 5 breaths, and you can bring yourself to that state. Okay. So this is a card I give to my patients. So as needed practice, whenever at the first sign of stress in your body, okay, stop what you're doing, pause, and observe and do slow breathing, okay? Then do it for 3, 5, or 10 breaths, and then proceed with what you need to do next, okay? There are certain routines that facilitate a meditative state of mind. Do's and don'ts in life, those are the ones which help self-discipline, and this is for every individual. It is, you have to create your own do's and don'ts. Lifestyle changes, one of the things which is said is that when not being going to the extremes, we are not going to go into detail here. The right kind of posture helps, the technique we talked about, regular practice, and less dependence on external agents. Alcohol, caffeine are external agents, okay? And being able to take to that state of mind which is de-stressed, joyful, without depending on any of them, okay? Okay, so if your experience 3 months of regular practice, so this is what it should be. Are you waking up every morning looking forward to going to work? Do you leave work with a smile, with energy for the rest of the day? Are you experiencing calm, joy, and satisfaction several times a day? Are you able to sleep peacefully at night? If we can get yes for one or more, or several, that's good, okay? These are all the roots from where this particular talk has come from, and this is how our mind is supposed to be. In a meditative state of mind, okay, the mind is like the lake on which we have the thoughts, feelings. They come and go, but they do not touch the meditator. They do not affect the meditator, okay? And okay, so the basically take-home points is that there are ways in which we can understand the mind, in which we can train the mind and take ourselves to a calm and peaceful place within. And by doing that, we can not only enhance our lives, but those of people around us. Okay? So I would pause here. That would leave us another 10 minutes for questions. Please, yeah, anyone who wants to go to the mic and just ask a question, say a comment, your experience, anything.
Yeah, I read a lot of books on this type of topic, and a lot of books get involved in the mindful meditation that you were talking, the breathing techniques. But what they don't seem to address is the fact that you addressed it in one of your slides in regards to some of the problems that cause stress, such as the systems, if you go back.
Yes.
Where it shows with the systems. Keep going.
Yeah.
Right there, that one right there, go back.
Yes.
That one there, okay, where the least control is the systems, so people who have to work in companies are more affected by the companies they're involved in, and they have less control. The people who work independently have more control and can be more relaxed by working for themselves versus when you work for a company and they have more control. Under how we view and frame things, that's a philosophical question. It's based on what your philosophy is. For example, people have very high goals, but where they really get hurt is not that their goals are high, they get hurt because their expectations are at the same height of their goals. It's nice to have high goals, but if you try to let your expectations be what they are, they may get there, they may not get there, but it definitely decreases the amount of stress you have if you...
So it is not only philosophical, but it's also in terms of our thinking. If you look at it from a perspective of a cognitive behavioral perspective, Okay, how we frame things, how we approach things,
Right.
Can either enhance our stress level or decrease our stress
Exactly,
level. Yeah.
exactly. And then the final one is your experience, most controlled mindfulness. That's the component of what you're talking about.
That's why I said that this is where we are focusing on, because for me, I look at where do I put my time and energy into something that I can control. And
Right.
Okay.
Right, and the last thing that I do to avoid causing this kind of stress was one of the big ones that you had in another slide was deadlines.
Yes.
I don't let people commit me to deadlines.
Okay.
Because deadlines are what cause the most stress for me.
Uh-huh.
So if I mean, obviously there will always be some deadlines in my life, but I'm going to minimize them to the most extent because that eliminates most of my stress.
Absolutely. And the question is actually the deadlines, externally imposed deadlines versus internally imposed deadlines. There are two. Sometimes we impose deadlines on ourselves. Okay, if I want to publish 2 papers in the next year because I want to become an associate professor, that is my deadline. That's no one's else, right? Okay, so I think that is where the thinking part comes in.
Because in my business and in what I do and how I practice my life is I don't have any deadlines. The deadlines, when the job gets done, the job gets done.
If you do not have deadlines, then about 75% of our stress is gone, right? However, we are supposed to complete, I'm supposed to complete my notes within 24 hours of seeing a patient, period. Okay, so that's not my deadline, that's an external deadline, right? Okay, so yes, thank you for those comments. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, criticisms? Oh, you can say this doesn't work. This is useless. That's okay. So if there are no questions, we are finishing 7 minutes ahead of time. Okay. So listen, you got 7 minutes back. Thank you all.